Calaroga Shark Media.
From Washington, D.C., where Sleepy Don is probably passed out, this is Ballot.
You know, maybe it's time we elected someone who is healthy enough to stay awake all day. Let's hit this. I'm Patrick Gutfield. And President Trump is reportedly furious about news coverage comparing him to Sleepy Joe Biden. Yes, the same Donald Trump who spent 4 years calling Biden Sleepy Joe is now upset that people are calling him Sleepy. The man invented the nickname, campaigned on it, put it on merchandise, and now he's mad the boomerang came back. According to reports, Trump gets angrier about stories questioning his health than almost anything except the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. Sources say he'll fixate on critical coverage for days. Days. Meanwhile, the rest of us can barely remember what we had for breakfast. The scrutiny ramped up after Trump was caught on camera appearing to doze off during a cabinet meeting this week. A cabinet meeting! That's the one meeting where you're literally sitting at a table with your name on a placard in front of you. You can't even pretend you were closing your eyes to think deeply about infrastructure. And this isn't the first time. Reports say he's been caught drifting off during Oval Office meetings, losing his train of thought mid-sentence and showing up with mysterious bruising on his hand that he covers with heavy concealer. The White House says the bruising is from chronic venous insufficiency, a condition where leg veins don't push blood back to the heart efficiently. So basically, his blood is as tired as he looks. Trump also had a moment during a press conference with Benjamin Netanyahu where he incorrectly remembered when his first term started. He forgot when he became president. That's not a small detail, that's the entire job. Imagine forgetting your wedding anniversary, but the wedding was also a 4-year global news event. The White House insists Trump is in excellent overall health and has a relentless work ethic and unmatched energy, which would be more convincing if we hadn't just watched him take an unscheduled nap during a meeting about running the country. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt blamed the media for pushing fake and desperate narratives, saying Americans' trust in the media just hit an all-time low. Sure, but you know what else is hitting an all-time low? Trump's ability to stay awake past 2 in the afternoon. The irony is delicious. Trump spent years mocking Biden's age and stamina, and now he's 79 years old, falling asleep in meetings, and rage-scrolling negative press coverage about his health. He's become the very thing he swore to destroy. The only difference is Biden took afternoon naps on purpose. Trump's just doing it during work hours. Donald Trump hosted the Kennedy Center Honors on Sunday night. Not attended, hosted. The President of the United States walked out on stage to introduce performers at the annual Arts Gala, which is sort of the presidential equivalent of your dad insisting he DJ your wedding. This is the first time a sitting president has ever hosted the Kennedy Center Honors, which previously involved presidents just showing up and sitting quietly in a box like normal people. But Trump took over the Kennedy Center back in February. And when I say took over, I mean he fired everyone and appointed himself chairman. He's literally his own boss at this thing. The man gave himself a promotion at an art center. The honorees included Kiss, George Strait, Sylvester Stallone, Michael Crawford from Phantom of the Opera, and Gloria Gaynor. Trump said he personally selected them from a list of about 50 names, which means somewhere there's a rejected nominee crying into their Tony Award. He also joked that he might nominate himself next year, and honestly, at this point, why wouldn't he? He's already hosting the show and running the building. Speaking of the building, Trump told reporters on the red carpet that JFK would have done a very good job hosting, but couldn't handle construction projects. I build better than anybody, Trump said. So apparently, we're now comparing ourselves to the guy the building is named after. That's confidence. The whole thing had a very different vibe than usual. Normally, the Kennedy Center Honors is where Washington's elite and Hollywood royalty mingle over champagne. This year, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth showed up. Dr. Oz was there. Carrie Lake made an appearance. The Hollywood crowd was noticeably down, according to reports, which is one way to describe mass cancellations. But here's the thing. The fundraising worked. The center raised $23 million this year, almost double last year's total of $12.7 million. So Trump turned the Kennedy Center Honors into basically a MAGA donor event, and it made more money than ever. I'm not saying it's good, I'm just saying it's working. Trump introduced most of the acts via pre-recorded video, which is very much in keeping with his hosting style. Show up, say some things, let someone else do the actual work. He praised Michael Crawford for his unbelievable voice and called him a once-in-a-generation talent. Which is true. Crawford originated the role of the Phantom on Broadway. Trump plays the Phantom soundtrack at his rallies, so at least this one makes sense. The tributes themselves were actually quite nice. Kurt Russell talked about Sylvester Stallone and joked that when Stallone gives you a love tap, it's like a sledgehammer hitting your shoulder. Brooks and Dunn performed for George Strait. Elle King sang I Will Survive for Gloria Gaynor while wearing fur under strobe lights, which sounds less like a tribute and more like a fever dream. And Kiss got their moment, complete with a smoking guitar appearing on stage in memory of Ace Frehley, who died in October. His daughter accepted his medal on Saturday. Trump called Kiss a great rock and roll institution that pushed the boundaries with their pyrotechnics and makeup, which is accurate if you ignore that they also pushed the boundaries of merchandising by putting their logo on caskets. The show won't air until December 23rd on CBS, so we'll all get to watch this again in a few weeks. Which means somewhere a CBS executive is trying to figure out how to promote the president hosts an award show without it sounding like a constitutional crisis. The whole weekend was Trump-branded from start to finish. There was an Oval Office medal ceremony on Saturday that was televised for the first time ever, followed by a private dinner at the State Department. Trump's been reshaping the honors around his personal tastes and instincts, which is a polite way of saying he's turned a nonpartisan art celebration into something with a guest list that looks like a cabinet meeting. But ticket sales have been plunging all year, and the center's been dealing with mass resignations since Trump's February takeover. So they raised a record amount of money from people who wanted to be there, while losing money from people who used to want to be there. That's just math with extra steps. The Kennedy Center Honors used to be this elegant, above-the-fray event where Democrats and Republicans could sit in the same room and appreciate the arts together. Now it's the president hosting a show at a building he chairs, honoring people he personally selected, while his appointees sit in the audience. Breaking news from the Tower of London, where dessert just got political. A group called Take Back Power decided to turn the Crown Jewels display into the world's most expensive food fight. Apple crumble and custard? Because nothing says political revolution quite like British pudding terrorism. These protesters are basically the culinary equivalent of political performance art. They smeared food on a display case containing a crown so fancy it makes your grandma's jewelry look like costume party accessories. We're talking about a crown with 2,868 diamonds. 2,868! I've seen fewer sparkles at a Las Vegas drag show. And their brilliant protest sign? Democracy has crumbled. Tax the rich. Apparently, the best way to make an economic statement is to weaponize dessert. Move over, pitchforks. We're now fighting capitalism with custard. The best part? The police literally took 2 protesters into custody. I'm not making this up. Someone in the London Police Department is definitely proud of that dad joke. This isn't even the first time protesters have turned art into a food fight. Last year, someone threw tomato soup on a Van Gogh. I guess these activists think famous artworks are just really expensive canvases waiting for a culinary makeover. The crown survived, by the way. 2,868 diamonds aren't taking down a dessert attack that easily. This crown has survived coronations, centuries, and now, an apple crumble with assault. Just another day in British political protest, where the revolution is served with a side of custard. Portions of today's show were made with the help of AI.